Hi friends, my name is Anna and I'm from LA. Before I tell you my story, please like and subscribe. I used to live in a tiny apartment with my dad, but he wanted to give me everything in the world.
Sweetheart, I promise you I'll give you the world. You'll have everything that I didn't have in my childhood. I will make you so happy.
But Daddy, I am so happy. See, Dad fulfilled his promise and worked hard. He became one of the most successful businessmen in the country, and I couldn't be prouder. Dad loved spoiling me. He'd get me all the latest gadgets, collectible Barbies, and I even had a theme park inside our mansion. I had everything and lived the life of a princess. But there was just one thing missing. My mom. Ever since I was a little girl, I was so curious about my mom, and whenever I'd ask him about her, he'd tell me how it was her loss that she left us. On my 5th birthday, Dad threw us the most lavish party ever. He went totally overboard and had ponies and even hot air balloons. I was having a wonderful time with my friends, but when I was in the jumping castle, a kid was being super pesky and kept bumping into others. When he pushed me, I pushed him back, and he ended up falling out of the jumping castle in an instant. His mom came running and hugged him so tight.
Oh my God, my dear, are you hurt?
She then glared at me and said,
If your mom hadn't left you, maybe she could have taught you some manners.
I felt so crushed. Even though it was that kid's fault, and he wasn't hurt bad, his mom was so worried she lovingly swept him into her arms and left. It was at that moment I realized that leaving me was not my mom's loss, but mine. And then I ended up throwing the worst tantrum ever. When Dad brought my giant cake out, I kicked the table. I don't want this. I want my mommy. Daddy, give me my mommy. Everyone was stunned to see me acting out, and then the party was over. Later, when Dad came to tuck me into bed, he gave me a gift.
I wanted to give you this when you were older, but I know you need it now.
It was a locket with a picture of my mom. It was the first time I was seeing her picture, and it made me so happy. Every night, I kissed her picture and vowed to find her someday. Mommy, one day when I grow up, I promise I'll find you, and I'll be so good you'll love me. One time I was at school, and we were going for swimming lessons. The teacher asked everyone to remove any watches and jewelry we were wearing, but I just couldn't remove Mom's locket. Teacher, can I keep my locket on, please?
Why?
It's the only thing I have of my mom. I never take it off. Hearing this, the teacher squeezed me into a hug, and all the kids looked at me with such sad eyes.
Oh, I am so sorry, Anna. I didn't know. My heart aches for you. Sweetie, you can keep wearing that locket.
After that day, everyone seemed kind of extra nice to me in class. They'd offer me the best seat during lunch. Everyone wanted to sit with me and would even share their lunch with me.
Anna, try this. My mom made it especially for you. When I told her about your mom, she so wanted to cook this for you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Even in class, the teachers were extra sweet to me. One time, we were having a test, and I just coughed, and my teacher went all emotional on me saying that I didn't need to take the test.
Okay, that was awesome because I wasn't prepared.
With a smile, I left the class, but during lunchtime, Bella came over to me. She was like the meanest girl in our school.
Anna, don't you get sick of your sob story every time? It's, I don't have a mommy. Always taking sympathy from teachers and other kids. You're such a drama queen. No wonder your mommy ran away from you.
God, her words made my blood boil, but it also hurt me so much I felt I would start crying. But just then, someone spoke. It was Isaac, the scholarship student at her school.
Come on, Bella, you have your entire life to be a jerk. Why not take off today? Leave her alone.
Bella just rolled her eyes and checked her nails.
You know, Isaac, you and Anna, you're both pretty much alike. She uses her mommy story, and you use your oh I'm so poor story so people will have pity on you. So pathetic. That did it.
I never wanted anyone's sympathy or pity. Without even thinking twice, I grabbed Bella's hair, and then she did too. We both were fighting like crazy. Later, we were taken to the principal's office. I was expecting to get detention, but she only punished Bella, and that really pissed me off. Why didn't I get punishment? I also pulled her hair.
Anna, we know you're a good student. Bella has had many complaints against her. It's time she faces the consequences of her actions. I am going to expel her.
Whoa! I knew the principal was taking pity on me. I stormed out of the office, but was totally surprised to see how many kids gathered outside looking at me with gooey eyes. Is everything all right? Why are you guys looking at me so weirdly?
Weirdly? Anna, it's pure adoration. You saved us. You're like the first girl to show Bella her place. It was so cool.
The look on her face felt like a cherry on top of a cake. Okay, I sure wasn't expecting this. After that day, Isaac would follow me around everywhere. Not just Isaac, but so many other kids too. They treated me like some sort of leader, and I was in no way a leader. All the time I would be getting praises and compliments, and it was kind of getting on my nerves.
Oh, Anna, your skin. It's so beautiful.
Anna, can you teach me how you solve that math equation? I know you study smart instead of studying hard. I don't want to be like you.
Since I liked music, there was one time in art class, I was just humming a song when all of a sudden Isaac put me in the spotlight.
Oh my god, that was the sweetest voice I have ever heard. Come on, guys, let's hear it from Anna.
No, zip it, Isaac. But then everyone started chanting my name like I was some pop star. Even the teachers mustering all my courage. I sang, and everyone clapped so loud for me. Okay, that was weird because I was just a normal singer, nothing extraordinary, but everyone treated me as if I was something special. As if things couldn't get any weirder, my classmates chose me as the class president. The surprising thing was that I never participated. I didn't have any clue how to be a class president, but Isaac was there for me. Turned out he was a really nice guy and helped me every step of the way. Isaac and I became best friends. The guy was totally my support system, always there for me. When we were in high school, Isaac started working in a cafe as a barista, and I loved hanging out there. One time when I was at the cafe, Isaac made his signature coffee for me. But just then, I saw someone enter the cafe, and I dropped the cup. It was Mom. I could recognize her face in a million faces. She had 2 kids with her, and the moment Isaac saw her, he greeted her and called her Emily. I felt like my whole world was standing still. I came out of my stupor when I saw one of her kids run out of the shop, and that's when I bolted. Hey, stop, get back in here. No. The kid just stuck out his tongue at me and was about to run onto the road, but thank God I lunged forward. I grabbed his shirt and pulled him back, and right then a truck passed by. That was close, really close. Right then Mom came out and thanked me.
Oh my God, thank you so much. You saved my baby. You're an angel.
No problem. I just turned to leave, but Mom grabbed my shoulder. I thought she'd recognize me, but it was something else.
So you work here? You seem like someone who can handle kids. Can you babysit my boys? I'll give you a letter of recommendation once you're done. I'll pay you well too.
Oh my God, how could I say no to that? I instantly agreed. I started working at Mom's place, and it had been 3 days, and I totally loved it. She lived in a big mansion, but that was nothing compared to where Dad and I lived. I was pretty amazed to see Mom's life. She loved makeup and posted her videos on Instagram, and her husband seemed like a nice guy who really loved her. Every night before leaving, I would see Mom tucking the twins into bed. She would snuggle them and shower them with kisses. It was adorable, but it always made me feel a tad bit jealous. In a few weeks, the twins and I started to get along just fine, and Mom was so happy, telling me how they never liked babysitters, but had started to love me. Why wouldn't they? I was their big sister. There was one time Mom had to go out, and when she returned, I was totally drained, and she felt bad for me.
Oh, honey, I am so sorry I got late today. I'll pay you extra today. And what have the twins done to your hair? Come on, I'll give you a makeover. Have you looking like a supermodel?
Makeover? Wow, I would love that. Mom then put on some light makeup and did my hair just like she did hers. But once she was done, she looked at me so shocked I wondered why. And looking at my reflection in the mirror, I knew the answer. I looked just like her. I wish you would notice how much we were alike. Notice me?
Wow, you are a very pretty girl.
Just like you. I mean, of course, you did my makeup and hairstyle like yours. So that's why I look so pretty.
Ah, perhaps. But girl, you are a natural beauty.
After that day, I felt like Mom's eyes were constantly on me. Every time I'd be doing something with the twins, I would catch her staring at me, and then she'd look away. I knew something was on her mind, but she never said anything. There was one time when Mom was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the twins and offered me one too. PB&J makes me puke. No way!
Really? Same. I hate them too. I didn't realize we're so much alike.
Yeah, perhaps. Mom looked at me for a few seconds and then blurted,
Anna, what's your father's name?
My heart started to beat so fast. Finally, she had realized who I was. But just as I opened my mouth, Mom's husband stepped in and kissed her, and I decided to talk to her later. But later that night, I heard noises from Mom's room. I was so worried and went upstairs. But what I heard broke my heart. Mom and her husband were arguing about Mom's first daughter.
You're telling me this now after all these years? You deceived me.
I was so young when I had her. But now things are different. I know I made a mistake.
Yes, a mistake. Mistakes are meant to be forgotten. Just forget her and focus on the now. Your family, your husband, and your boys.
That moment, I realized what I was doing. Mom was happy. She had the perfect life, the perfect family, the perfect husband, and I was ruining it all for my own selfish reasons. I just ran out of the house, and thank God Isaac was waiting for me outside. I instantly hugged him and told him everything. I just want to leave her alone. I can't do this. I can't shatter her perfect life.
But she's your mom too. It's your right to confront her.
Forget about it. Let's go home. That day when I went home, I gave Dad a tight hug. He truly was my world. I decided to get out of Mom's life and let her be, so I started to avoid her calls. She texted me and wanted me to come to her house, but I refused and messaged her saying I had a new job. But a week later, something strange happened. I was in my room when I heard Mom's voice. She was calling my name, and I came running down the stairs and was so shocked to see her. Dad and I both stood stunned, and then Mom came running and swept me into her arms.
Oh my God, I knew it. It's really you, my daughter, my Anna. That day I wanted to talk to you, but you left. Anna, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for my mistakes. Why did you leave without talking to me?
Because I am a mistake. Mistakes are meant to be forgotten.
Oh, darling, please forgive me. I was a fool for thinking so. You are my strength. You are the person who made me a mother. It was foolish of me to abandon you, but I promise, even if I had to fight against the world, I'll never leave your side. I love you so much.
I love you too, Mom. I love you so much.
Hi, I'm Wendy from Sweden, and my story is really crazy. But before I begin, please like and subscribe. I lived in a creepy old house with my parents. It used to belong to my grandma, who was a very odd woman. She studied mysterious races in the world and brought back crates full of strange outfits and creepy items. And most people around thought our house was haunted.
Walk faster, a ghost girl will catch you.
Just then, I leapt out from behind a bush wearing a scary mask. I was just trying to be funny, but people thought I was the weird girl who lived in the scary house, and no one wanted to be my friend. And my parents never had much time for me either because they were always working.
This old house is a money pit. I need to work 2 jobs to keep it.
Please go to your room, Wendy. I'm in a meeting.
I wanted to help out, so I started giving ghost tours of the property. When my parents were away, I loved telling made-up stories about the freaky things I'd seen around the house. I even made up a murder or 2 and sold Mom's dresses with ketchup stains as souvenirs. I made a killing on Halloween, but when Mom and Dad found out, they were furious.
What's wrong with you, Wendy? Why can't you be sweet and well-behaved like other kids?
They took all my money and I was grounded for a month. I was so lonely and wished I had a sibling to play with. Then one day, when I was 12, I got the biggest surprise of my life. I went looking for a snack in the kitchen when I found a thin, pale boy my age instead.
Who are you and what are you doing in our pantry?
I'm Felix, your brother. Didn't your parents tell you they were adopting me?
What the flip? My parents had adopted a whole human and hadn't even bothered to tell me.
Typical!
I don't believe you. What proof do you have?
He waved some official-looking papers in my face. They looked legit.
My parents might have adopted you, but you still need to pass a few tests if you want to be my brother.
Bring it on!
We stood on our heads to see who could do it the longest, ate the worst carrot for lunch. And for the final task, we caught the fattest, slimiest fish and balanced them on our heads while we stood on one leg on the fence. Felix was great at it all.
Congratulations! You are officially my brother!
I was over the moon to finally have someone to play with, but my parents had to ruin that too.
You can't play with Felix anymore.
Why not? Didn't you adopt him so I'd have company? We've decided it isn't a good idea. You can't play with him, and that's that. But why?
Because we said so and we're sending him away.
It was so unfair!
I felt angrier than I'd ever felt before, and I smashed the toy I was playing with into the wall. But suddenly I felt dizzy, and moments later, I blacked out. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed with a bald doctor and my worried-looking parents next to me.
Wendy's blood pressure shot up suddenly and she fainted. She's fine for now, but try to keep her as calm as possible. I'd also suggest you homeschool her for now.
Mom and Dad took me home. They were being very nice to me, which was suspicious. Now they said I could play with Felix as much as I wanted, but when I ran to his room to tell him the good news, he was glaring at me angrily.
What's wrong? Aren't you happy we can be friends again?
Friends? I just found out that your parents did not adopt me because they wanted to love me or give me a nice home. They just brought me here for you, like I'm some kind of toy. And they might just send me away at any time. I hate you, and I'm gonna make your parents hate you too. They'll realize they're better off having me as a kid. Trust me, I'm not going anywhere.
Felix, don't be like that. I've always wanted a brother.
I'm not your brother.
I was both angry and heartbroken by his changed attitude. But I hoped he'd change over time, but it was the complete opposite. Felix kept messing with my parents. He dropped the pearl earrings I borrowed from Mum down the drain, smashed Dad's laptop, and put dye in their body wash. They had shocking pink skin for weeks. And somehow my parents were always upset with me and thought I was acting out. They never seemed convinced when I said it was all Felix. Was he really turning my parents against me?
Stop being a jerk. These things cost money, and Mom and Dad work really hard, and stop making them think I'm doing all this.
Then just give up and go away yourself. There's only space for one of us here.
I'm not going anywhere, pal.
But then, the most terrible thing happened. A few days after my 13th birthday, we were visited by some people from the museum. They wanted to use Grandma's outfits and creepy items for a display, and they said they'd pay us a lot of money if we allowed them to borrow it for a few weeks. Mom and Dad were over the moon that the dirty junk around the house was worth something.
We can buy a new car and replace the laptop Wendy trashed.
We can pay off the mortgage and finally be debt-free.
This could change our lives for the better. But minutes before the people from the museum arrived to collect the things, I heard a huge crash from the basement. I went running to see all the things smashed and broken on the floor. And Felix standing in the middle with a stick!
Oops! I'm so sorry, I was just looking at them.
This time he had gone too far. I slapped him hard!
You did that on purpose, you jerk!
Just then, my parents came running in and looked at the mess in horror, and then they looked at me like I was the crazy one.
Why are you looking at me like I did this? He's ruined everything, and you're still gonna have him around. Why don't you send him away? You want us to send your brother away? You got so upset before. I was wrong about him, okay? He's not my brother. He's crazy, and he's dangerous.
Mom and Dad exchanged a weird long glance and nodded.
Fine. We'll send him to a special facility so he can get better.
That night, I locked my door, but I could still hear Felix screaming and crying in his room. The next day, he was gone. Mum and Dad looked sad and broken. They tried to be nice to me, but I saw right through them. They were sad because Felix had left, and I could never make them happy. In the fall, the doctor said it would be good for me to restart regular high school. Things were going really well on my first day until...
Hey, watch out! It's a ghost girl! I'm so scared!
Dude, grow up!
That wasn't all. In my very first class, I met the most bonkers girl.
I heard you were the ghost girl.
What's it to you?
I'm Tara. I just moved here from Ireland. Is it true your house is haunted? I'd love to meet a real-life ghost. I've dreamed of it my whole life.
Are you nuts? Who has creepy dreams like that?
You haven't read Dead Love Doesn't Die. It's the most romantic book ever. Are there handsome ghosts in your house? Are they single?
Girl, you need help!
No, I need a ghostly boyfriend with ice-cold lips and dreamy eyes who can transport me to his time and give me 1,000,000 ghostly kisses. And he'll
Was
take
there
me
something
away
wrong
to-
with me? First Felix and now Tara? Was I a weirdo magnet? For the next few weeks, she stuck to me like glue. At first, I acted indifferent because I wasn't sure she'd even stick around for too long. But she did. And I slowly started to enjoy having a friend.
Ha! Look, there's Ghost Girl and her vampire girlfriend. What, in the twilight?
Tara hissed and bit the jerk on his arm.
You're absolutely crazy.
Hey, no one messes with my friend. Yuck! He tasted disgusting. Let's go get candy.
How about I make you a sandwich at my place?
You mean it?
Tara instantly fell in love with the place.
This place is fantastic. Can you imagine the paranormal romances that could take place here?
I just laughed and went to the kitchen to get the sandwiches. But there was already someone in there.
Felix, what are you doing here?
I'm back. Of course, Mom and Dad didn't tell you. You would have forced them to keep me away.
It would be for their own good after the mess you made last time. What kind of facility allows home visits?
Ha! I'm not at a facility. They sent me on vacation to Bali to prove how much they loved me and wanted me in the family. I'm back now, and I'll make sure you end up in the facility soon.
I couldn't believe this was happening. I made some excuse and sent Tara home before Felix did something to her. When my parents got home, I confronted them.
You lied to me. He's dangerous and out to get me, but you still allowed him in our home.
Mom started to cry, and Dad glared at me.
You're upsetting your mother, Wendy. How long will this go on?
You don't even care that I'm upset too? You guys are the most selfish parents ever. I'm going to stay at my friend's house because I don't feel safe here.
You can't leave. We should call the doctor. I told you we shouldn't have sent her back to school.
Dad locked me in my room. I could hear Felix laughing under my door. He was evil. I had to get out of here. I called Tara and told her what was up. Within minutes, she was outside my window.
Come on, Ghost Girl. Let's get you to safety.
Tara's house was so normal. It was awesome. She pulled out a mattress for me to sleep in her room, then brushed my hair to calm me down as I told her everything.
Wow, your parents sound like a piece of work. And I finally get why you're so weird about being friends.
I can't trust anyone. My parents ignored me for so long and thought things would be different for me once Felix came. But he's the worst, and ever since he came, my parents treat me like I'm some lunatic. When he's the crazy one, he really scares me.
Don't worry, you're safe here. I'll punch his lights out if he tries to mess with you.
Suddenly I heard a loud tap on the window and he was standing outside. I screamed and jumped up.
It's him! Felix is here!
He was holding rocks in his hand and wore the evilest grin.
Where? I don't see anything.
Felix threw the first rock. It slammed against the window hard, leaving a deep crack.
Are you blind? He's right there!
Wendy, are you sure you don't, see ghosts or something? Because I can't see anyone.
Didn't you hear the rock hit the window? Look, it's left a crack!
What are you talking about?
What?
Why was Tara suddenly lying to me? Suddenly the door slammed open and my parents were standing there looking worried.
How did you find me? Did you tell them I was here? Tara, I thought you were my friend. No, Wendy. Tara didn't tell us. We saw you sneaking out of the house and followed you. Let's go home. No, you're just going to lock me up in my room again. What's going on? Tara says she can't see Felix. Is she lying or am I crazy?
The saddest look crossed my mom's face, and she broke down crying and hugged me.
No, Wendy, you're not crazy.
That's when they told me how they'd never adopted a boy named Felix.
We thought he was just a harmless, imaginary friend. But when you started seeing him all the time, we tried to stop it by saying we'd send him away.
The doctor said you had created Felix to help with your feelings of being alone, and we should play along, so we agreed. But then you started acting out and blaming it on Felix.
We were so glad when you finally sent him away yourself. We thought things were going to be okay now. But then you said you saw him again, and
We just can't see you like this, sweetie, and it's all our fault. We should have given you more time when you were a kid.
I was in utter shock.
So everything Felix did, the earrings, the laptop, the items.
It was all you, but we weren't mad about any of it. We were just worried about you.
But if Felix was the friend I made up, why was he suddenly so mean to me? Your doctor said you suffered from low self-esteem. In your mind, No one wants to be friends with you for long. Are you real? Can you guys see Tara?
I could pinch you!
Ouch. Okay, you're real.
Don't worry, dear. We talked to your doctor, and he says we can start therapy sessions now. You'll be fine.
And we'll be with you all the way.
Me too!
They all took me in a big bear hug, and suddenly I didn't feel alone at all.
Hello, I'm Isa from Austria. Before I share my story with you, please like and subscribe to my channel. I grew up in a large mansion with my parents, grandmother, aunt, and many servants. We were wealthy, and my life was almost perfect, especially because I had the most amazing mother ever, who spoiled me endlessly. Like when I was 6 years old and didn't want to do homework at school. It was against the rules, but somehow my mom convinced the teacher to allow it. And when I was 8, I wanted a big swimming pool indoors, so my mom built a pool in the backyard big enough to fit a whole family. I loved having my mom around. She was such a kind and sweet person, but she was a little strange. You see, my mom was fascinated by all things mystical and believed she could communicate with ghosts. No one in our family thought it was a big deal until one day, when I was 10, my mom and dad had a fight, and my dad walked out.
Who needs humans when you have a million ghosts to keep you company?
You're insane. Go hug your invisible friends. I'm out of here.
After my dad left, my mom became unhinged. She became obsessed with her hobby and spent hours locked in her room, talking to herself. But one night, she lit too many candles and caused a fire that burned down half of the mansion. My grandmother was furious and demanded that my mom leave. So, my mom and I moved to a smaller place. And although we had enough to live comfortably, it was nothing compared to the life we had before. That really affected me.
Look, I bought you a new doll.
This is a rag doll, Mom, and it's so scary. Take that away from me.
But sweetie, I made this for you.
Well, you wouldn't have to waste your time if you didn't burn down my old toys.
My mom looked at me sadly before leaving, and I felt bad. But I was still a child, and I really missed my old life. I thought that eventually my mom would give up her obsession and we would move to the US to live with my grandfather. But she only became stranger. One day, an odd old woman appeared at our doorstep, looking like a witch, and offered to read our fortune.
Wow, the universe must have sent you. Please come in.
Mom and the old woman sat down and started muttering something. Halfway through, she began communicating with the spirits. The table started shaking, and my mom looked astonished.
What do the spirits want?
Oh, they're upset. Very upset. You burnt their old house down and now they're homeless.
They are invisible, right? They can stay in the White House and no one will know.
Child, you make fun of spirits. How dare you?
The strange woman stood up and started dancing wildly, and my mom joined in. It all looked ridiculous. I couldn't stand witnessing this crazy superstition, so I left. The next day, my grandmother came for an unexpected visit. My mom told her everything that had happened.
Now I just need to find a way to please the spirits. And
I can't believe you're still looking into these things. I wanted to give you another chance, but you haven't changed a bit.
My grandmother was furious and then left, and my mom cried all night.
Why can't you just let these spirits go? Mom, I really want to move in with Nana and Papa. I miss them.
No way. You saw what happened with the medium. I'm not putting them in danger again.
So you'd rather make us live like street rats? Come on, Mom. This is not real. That weird lady medium, whatever. She was tricking you.
I'm not discussing this, Isa.
I worked hard, researching documents and books and asking my teachers. I needed to pull my mom out of this mystical world and prove to her that there are no ghosts or demons.
While she spent time and money on psychics, seminars, and meditation retreats, I did research to debunk her beliefs. There is no scientific basis for crystal healing. The Bermuda Triangle has finally been explained. Most ghost activities can be traced back to change in temperature, electromagnetic interference, or... Mom, are you listening?
Oh no, it's the unholy hour. I can't talk now. Bye.
My words didn't get through to my mom at all. Things got worse when one day I invited a few friends over for a sleepover. Everything was going well until late at night when my mom walked into my room with candles and crystals.
It's a full moon tonight. Tell me, girls, when was the last time you got a cleanse?
She made my friends and me sit in a circle while she burned incense around us. I was so embarrassed. Of course, no one wanted to come to my house after that terrifying incident. And while I couldn't invite my friends over, psychics kept showing up at her door. Some of them even became my mom's friends and stayed with us for days. I had given up hope until one day, on my way home, I heard some kids talking about a challenge at a local haunted house. And that gave me the perfect idea. If I could expose this local ghost story, maybe my mom would finally believe me. I asked the kids if I could join them, and they agreed. That night, while my mom was sleeping, I sneaked into the haunted house with the rest of the group. But 5 minutes into exploring, I heard a blood-curdling scream from an upstairs room. I followed it, only to find one of the boys in a panic.
There's something here. It knocked that vase. It's a ghost.
That's not a ghost. It's a mouse.
I picked up the mouse, and its squeaking made the boy panic even more. He let out an even louder scream and ran downstairs. The rest of the group saw him and started running around like headless chickens. One by one, they all ran outside until I was the only one left. So I sat on a dusty old couch and took a nap. The next day, rumors spread around the school that I had stayed in the haunted house all night. I became famous overnight. Soon, others wanted to join me on my ghostly adventures, so we formed a club. By the time I was 15, my paranormal investigation club had become extremely popular. I had a lot of fun with it, solving all sorts of things, including a few alien and Yeti sightings. Life was pretty good, except my mom was still a hopeless case. One day, while my mom and I were out for a meal, we walked into our usual store. I was talking to the clerk when a girl about my age walked up to me.
Bonjour. Can I show you something? Those stress lines do not look good on a pretty face like yours. How about some incense for meditation? An amethyst pendant to relieve stress.
No, thanks.
Oh, Issa, that's a cute pendant.
No, Mom, it's not. It's hideous. Let's go home, Mom.
I rushed out of the store without waiting another second. Unexpectedly, the next day at school, I ran into the girl from the store again. She was surrounded by a group of girls and was selling them some strange little bottles.
What's that?
Oh, hello, sweet Issa. You smell divine. Imed, by the way.
And Issa for you. What did you give them?
Love potions. To tingle the romantic bones that are clearly missing from your body.
Shut up. You're scamming innocent girls. They'll have to report you to the principal.
No, why don't you see for yourself first? If they don't work, you know where to find me.
After speaking, Ed winked at me and walked away. What a weirdo. Anyway, I agreed to wait a few days to see if that stupid potion would work. And, to my surprise, all the girls who used it ended up with a date with their crush. I couldn't believe it. I had to talk to Ed and saw her in the cafeteria.
I was waiting for you, pretty Issa. Some salad.
No, thanks. I don't want that. Tell me about the love potions.
It's a trade secret, obviously.
Or maybe that potion gave them a bit of confidence, and everything else was pure luck.
You can't prove that, can you?
I was furious. Looking back, all those girls were quite beautiful, but just a bit shy. Of course it worked. A few days passed and I decided to stay away from Ed. Soon enough, it was time to go to college. One night, I was packing my things to leave for school when my mom walked into my room with the amethyst pendant from the other day.
What's this for?
It's pretty. It reminds me of your eyes.
This was kind of exciting. Expensive. Mom, are you sure you can afford this?
Of course I can. And while we're talking about money, I have something to talk about.
That's when Mom told me that she actually had nothing saved for my college and suggested that I should ask my grandmother for my college fund.
There's no way they'll listen to me, but I'm sure they'll help you.
So, all these years you didn't consider that I had to go to college? How could you be so selfish?
I gave you everything you need. And I know your grandma won't hesitate to give you more money, but do you think I have any chance of getting more funds for my research?
I can't believe you're still thinking about that. Mom, you're seriously crazy. I wish I could have just left with Dad.
Don't use that tone with me, Issa.
Actually, I'd rather not use any tone with you.
Shut up, and don't forget I'm your mom.
You're the one who forgot.
I rushed out of the house feeling upset and wandered around the neighborhood. I felt like someone was watching me. I turned around and saw Ed right behind me.
What are you doing?
Trying to make sure the girl I like is safe. What are you doing, roaming around the streets at this hour?
I was just... Wait, did you say that you like me?
Well, obviously the love potion doesn't work on you, and neither do my hints, so I'll say it directly. Yes, Issa, I like you. Now tell me what's wrong. You look stressed.
I finally told her everything about my life, including my recent conversation with my mom. Surprisingly, she turned out to be a good listener.
That's tough.
I don't understand why Mom is so focused on the supernatural instead of trying to mend things with her family. It could really make our life easier, you know?
Maybe, but in her head, it's all real. I'm sure she has her reasons. She actually told my mom a while back how she heard knocking and scratching in the walls. Threatening messages appeared overnight, and she saw a white figure in her room once. This happened for years.
Oh, please! It was probably just her imagination.
Whatever it was, she's your mom, and you're the only person she can fall back on.
Maybe Ed was right, but I couldn't forgive my mom that easily. Being an irresponsible mother is a terrible thing. The next morning, I took a bus back to the mansion. Everything had completely changed. As I walked toward the entrance, I was overwhelmed with memories of my childhood. Then suddenly, I saw Aunt Mallory, my mom's younger sister. She saw me, ran over, and hugged me. "You've grown so much, my pretty Issa."
So have you. I mean, you look amazing, Auntie. How have you been?
I'm good. But why are you wearing these weird clothes? Come in, let me set you up with a beautiful dress. Aunt Mallory led me inside, and I told her about my mom's spending problems and how my college education might be disrupted. That's terrible! I knew my sister was weird, but I would have never thought she was this irresponsible. Don't worry, child, she'll take care of everything. I was overjoyed and immediately started planning for school. Ed helped me a lot with figuring things out. The more time I spent with her, the more I liked her. It was a bit strange, but at least she was there for me, unlike my mom, who still refused to return to the mansion.
I'm happy you're having a good time there, but I don't think I'm welcome there.
You won't know if you don't give it a shot. Isn't family more important than your dumb psychic research? Why can't you just listen to me for once?
You have no idea what it means to be treated like a crazy person by everyone, including your own parents.
Stop playing the Vita, Mom. You did this to yourself.
I saw my mom cry. She was hurt. But I was so tired of her behavior. I was so happy to be back at the mansion, waking up to breakfast in bed, strolling through the lush garden, and feeling like a princess once again. My college was nearby, and I even had a private driver to take me there. Life was finally perfect, but I still missed my mom a lot, and she didn't want to see me. One day, I accidentally saw the amethyst pendant that my mom had bought for me. Suddenly, I felt my eyes sting with tears. I decided to ask Ed for help.
Why don't you do what you're best known for? Solving paranormal stuff. You solved all the cases around here except that of your mother.
But that was years ago. How am I supposed to investigate that now?
You live in the mansion. Try looking around old artifacts, cold spots. Maybe something will turn up to prove that she was right, and her family will finally see that she wasn't crazy.
Even I'm not fully convinced with that, Ed. How will I convince others?
Have faith, Pradisa.
Ed took me back home, and I got to work. That night, I waited for everyone to go to sleep and then quietly snuck out of my room. I spent hours searching the library and wandering around the hallways, but nothing seemed suspicious. As I was heading back to my room, I tripped over a rock and a hidden underground door opened.
Oh, what the freaking frogs? A hidden passage!
I turned on my flashlight and walked down the dark hallway that led straight to my mom's old room. And suddenly, everything started to make sense. This door opened from the other side of the hallway. So, someone could have been sneaking into my mom's room every night and making those strange noises, even disguising themselves as a ghost to scare her. But who would do that? I was still lost in thought when a flashlight suddenly blinded me, and what I saw left me stunned.
Auntie?
Issa, what are you doing here?
Oh my god! It was you, right? You knew about this secret passage. Were you the ghost that haunted my mother?
My aunt was grinning maliciously.
What can I say? Your mom was always too stupid to figure it out. You probably took after your father.
But why, Auntie? What did Mom ever do to you?
She took everything from me. She was always the favorite child because she was younger and prettier. I did everything to get our parents' attention, but they didn't have time for me. I could still let go of that. But then she married the guy I liked, and I knew I couldn't take it anymore and worked out a plan. All I had to do was to show everyone how crazy she was. And she was stupid.
She actually fell for it. You were in love with Dad. Please tell me you didn't have anything to do with their divorce.
I may have given him evidence of your mom cheating. And while she was busy moping around, I amped up the hauntings. But the fire and everything were all her.
You hated Mom, but you helped me. Why would you do that?
To take away the last thing she had, of course.
Wow, you're evil! Wait till I tell Grandma!
You can try, but you won't if you want the funds for your college to keep coming.
Oh, don't you worry. I've learned a trick or two of my own. After all, we are related by blood.
I recorded the conversation, and my aunt was stunned when she realized it. She tried to grab my phone, but I quickly ran out of the house. The next day, I asked my mom to come over and showed her and my dad the video. They were shocked and decided to kick my aunt out right then and there.
I'm so sorry, Mom, for never believing you.
I didn't give you a reason to trust me either, sweetie. So I guess it's a new start for us both.
My grandparents apologized to Mom. They asked Mom to move back in, but she just looked at me with sad eyes.
I wish you could have trusted me instead of thinking I was crazy. It will take a while to forgive you guys, but Isa, I leave it up to you.
It's okay, Mom. Let's go home.
She felt guilty and continued to support my college education. My mom and I still live in our small house, and we are closer than ever.
Hi, my name is Luna, aka the Vampire Girl, and it's all because I had the meanest parents. But before I continue, please like and subscribe. I grew up in a normal family in a small town in the Netherlands. But as I got older, I realized that my parents were not just normal. They were actually weirdos. I had never seen them leave the house, like going out for work or buying supplies. What was most annoying was that they often whispered to each other about something extremely mysterious. You might wonder how we could survive. Well, a box of supplies would mysteriously arrive every week, and I had never seen the delivery man. Every day, Dad would spend hours reading the newspaper and circling stuff on it with a red marker. Once, when I was 3, I was trying to warn my dad that there was a spider about to crawl over his breakfast, but he kept ignoring me, so I leapt onto the table and put my foot in his bowl, spilling it all over his newspaper, and Dad went bonkers.
Oh my god, do you realize what you've done?
Spider, spider!
You're just Spider, idiot! Just leave me alone!
Mom, hug! Hug!
You, stay away from me! Didn't I buy you a bunch of stuffed animals? Go back to your room and hug them.
Gosh, I wished I could just leave them forever. They didn't even love me. We never had any visitors, but my grandma. But when I was 5, Grandma came to see us once and she brought me an adorable cat. I was so happy. A rare creature is about to live in my house. But of course my parents are just being themselves.
We already have Luna. It's hard enough to take care of her. No, just take it back, please, Mom.
No freaking way! I ran up to my room with the cat and slammed the door shut. But when I woke up in the morning, my cat had flown away, even though it didn't have wings. I looked all over the house. Nothing. I just knew my parents had gotten rid of it. I screamed and cried, but they said they didn't know anything. Liars! I made a bold decision to run outside and search for my kitten. This was the first time I was breaking my family's rules. But that didn't matter anymore, because I had decided I was never going back to this house. It was a really sunny day, and as I kept running, my skin suddenly started turning really red and itchy. Oh, my body's getting scorched by the sun! I let out one huge scream and fainted. When I woke up, I was lying on my bed. In the room were the doctor and my parents. The doctor said I had a rare condition and advised my parents to absolutely prevent me from any exposure to sunlight.
See? That's what happens when you don't take our advice.
No, that's not true. That can't be right. My parents might be weird, but doctors aren't. Besides, the sun almost killed me, and I never want to go through that horrible feeling again. So after that, I refused to let a single ray of sunlight touch my body, not even indoors. I covered myself from tip to toe, socks, trek pants, hoodie, and a face mask. Only my eyes were visible. The weirdest people like my parents almost fainted when they first saw me running around the house like a little ninja. From nightfall is when I felt safe to remove my costume. I never go outside during the day because I think the outfit isn't thick enough. I even insisted on being homeschooled. But when I turned 15, my parents decided to let me attend regular school. Are you serious? Do you want me to die? I'm allergic to the sun, you know.
I'm fed up with that ninja outfit. After all these years, your condition is probably completely healed by now.
I'd rather jump off a cliff than listen to you.
If you keep behaving this way, I swear I'll send you to your aunt's place in Norway. There's only sunlight there for 6 months.
Gosh, they were unbelievable, and they thought I didn't know about their plan. Fine, but don't think I won't wear this costume to school. I will! It's been years since you last walked in the sun. I can feel the heat slowly getting inside. And when people say you're weirdos for dressing me up like this, just know that you asked for it. I joined school in the 10th grade, and the minute I entered the classroom, everybody started laughing and whispering things like weirdo and freak. I chose the seat farthest from the window and kept my mask on all the time. In lunch break, I waited for everyone to leave the cafeteria before I went in, but suddenly a girl came up and slapped me on the shoulder. It was Jessie.
Luna, right? I'm just curious, why are you dressed like a garbage bag?
I'm ugly. I don't want everyone to laugh at me. She started laughing and just left. I knew that if I said I was allergic to the sun, I would definitely get into trouble. Soon enough, I discovered she was the meanest girl around and would pick on me every chance she got, throwing snakes into my backpack, hiding all the toilet paper when I used the restroom. Another day, I solved a math problem on the board, and as I was returning to my seat, I slipped on some water and fell on the floor.
That's where your place is anyway, weirdo!
I ignored Jessie's stupid pranks, but one day she went too far. I was standing in the shade enjoying a baseball game when suddenly Jessie came out and snatched my mask. I lost my balance and fell off the bleachers. I quickly pulled my hoodie over my face. "You're a crazy freak!" I snapped at Jessie and bit down hard on her hand. Jessie let out a pained scream.
Ah, help! Let me go! You sun-phobic vampire!
And that's how I got my name, Vampire Girl. I could hear people calling me a monster, but I didn't care. At least the bullies were a little scared of me now. A few days later, a new kid joined our class named Luca. His outfit had a bit of a medieval vibe, which made Jessie and her minions laugh uncontrollably when they saw him. They'd found their new target. I joined him in the cafeteria at lunch that day and we started talking. I found out that he was the new janitor's son. He was really sweet and never even said I was crazy when I told him about my condition. I was so happy to have made a friend. But one day, as I was walking down the hallway, I found Jessie and her friends surrounding Luca. She threw the cake on the floor and arrogantly said,
Oops! You can clean this up, Luca. I mean, you'll grow up to be a janitor like your dad, right? Come on, just sit down and wipe it with your butt.
"Hey jerk, stop it! Didn't you promise last time that you wouldn't bully him anymore? Looks like that bite was too gentle, huh? I'll make sure it's way worse this time if you don't get out of here immediately." Jessie rolled her eyes at me, but when I leapt forward, she actually screamed and went running. Luca thanked me, and I always made sure to stick close to him after that. But then, one day, Luca and I had just entered the classroom after recess when Jessie started screaming like crazy.
OMG, my brand new iPhone! It's gone! Someone stole it!
And then she pounced on Luca and grabbed him by his shirt.
You must have done it, you little janitor! You beggar, you thief! Where is it?
Hey, knock it off you! You have no proof!
I'll get the proof, girl!
She snatched his bag and started throwing out all his things. I grabbed her hair and she turned around and attacked me. We got into a huge fight and just then the principal walked in. Jessie screamed, insisting that Luca was the culprit and that he had hidden the loot inside his locker. Of course, the principal found nothing there. However, Luca was left humiliated in front of everyone. He seemed very upset, with his face down on the desk. I caught up with him after school. "Hey Luca, are you okay? Jessie is such a witch. I hate rich people. They always look down on us like we're not even human."
Maybe she called me a thief just because I'm poor. Maybe we don't belong here.
"Luca, wait!" And he just walked away. He didn't come to school the next day and his dad was nowhere to be seen either. A week passed and there was still no sign of them. I felt worried, but I didn't know where he lived. But then I remembered Luca talking about how his dad also worked at a restaurant in the evening, so I decided to go talk to him. As I was walking down the street one night without my mask or hoodie, I saw a masked guy running towards me, and suddenly he started snatching my bag as I tried to get away. I lunged at his face and pulled his mask off, and I nearly fell back in shock. It was Luca. But before I could say anything, he ran away. I couldn't believe my eyes. What's going on? Luca really is a thief. Jessie was right. I felt betrayed. What I didn't expect was that Luca showed up at school 2 days later, but I just ignored him. But when he kept following me and asking me what was wrong, I suddenly lost it. "I'll tell you! The girl you robbed the other night on the street, that was me!" He looked horrified.
You, I didn't know. I've never seen your face.
"Whether it's me or not doesn't matter. The real issue is that you're a liar and a thief. I really made a mistake trusting and fighting for you." Suddenly he started weeping like a baby.
I didn't want to steal. Luna, but I just had no choice. My dad's in the hospital. We needed the money. I'm so sorry, but I swear I didn't steal Jesse's phone. I've never stolen anything until that night.
He kept crying and my heart went out to him. I'm sorry about your dad. Why didn't you tell me and everyone? Let me help you now, but promise me you'll never steal anything again.
I don't want to bother you. I don't want everyone to see me as poor or suspect me of stealing.
Don't worry about that, Luca. People are better than you think. I immediately went to talk to the school principal. Together, we planned a fundraiser for Luca's dad. Within a day, we raised all the money Luca needed for his dad's treatments and even more. The biggest donors were Jesse's parents. They kept praising me at the fundraiser for arranging the event, and this made Jesse even angrier.
Don't let it get to your head, Luna. You're still a freak and you could never be me.
As if I want to be. What's so special about you anyway, other than being super dumb?
Excuse you. I've been prom queen for the last 2 years. You could never.
Oh, that's cool, but things changed once I got involved.
Haha, seriously, it's prom, not some freak Halloween show. You'll never beat me, stupid vampire.
Luca whispered into my ear.
Don't argue with the girl who hasn't even seen your face!
I bought a beautiful dress for prom since it's tonight. It was the first time anyone in school would be seeing me without my mask and hoodie. As soon as I entered the hall, I saw people turning around and asking each other who I was. Just then Luca came to me and took my arm.
Luna, you're so gorgeous today.
That's Luna, the vampire girl. I can't believe it was that face behind that mask all this time. She's gorgeous.
Jessie looked furious when she saw everyone's attention was on me, and to my shock, I was actually voted as that year's prom queen. As I was being crowned, suddenly Jessie came charging at me on the stage, trying to rip the crown off my head. But then something strange happened. The bullies who used to pick on me saved me. They all stopped Jessie and took her away.
Hey, don't lay a finger on her, old prom queen.
That was amazing. Things at school started getting better. Everyone was super nice to me now. Luca was tutoring kids after school and his dad came back to work. Soon nobody paid any attention to Jessie and her gang anymore, and all they could do was give me death glares. But one day after gym class, I was quickly changing in the dark locker room when suddenly Jessie and her minions barged in. One of them quickly grabbed my hoodie while the others grabbed me by my hands and legs and started carrying me outside. Stop! Don't do that! Let me go! The more I screamed, the tighter they held on to me. Soon after, they dragged me out into the sun and pinned me to the ground.
Heck! You lied to me! You're not ugly, so you must be a vampire! I hope you melt and disappear! Haha.
Suddenly, someone pushed the girls away. It was a teacher and Luca. While the teacher dragged the bullies off to the principal, Luca quickly took me inside as I cried like crazy.
You're okay now? And your skin, it looks totally fine. It's not even red. Luna, does it hurt or burn?
I looked all over my arms and realized he was right. There were no rashes and it didn't itch or burn at all. Was my condition gone for good? Or had it just been all in my head? When I went back home that day, my parents were shocked to see me.
Luna, where's your hoodie and your mask?
I threw them all away. Mom, Dad, I was out in the sun and nothing happened to me. Maybe I'm cured. Unexpectedly, my parents hugged me tightly, and what they said next was truly like a bolt from the blue.
Sweetheart, it was all just a lie. You don't have any problem at all.
But the doctor?
The doctor was fake, too. Actually, you were just having a normal reaction to sunlight because you rarely went outside. He said what we wanted him to say to protect you.
Protect? No way! I never believed you guys because you hated me and wanted to get rid of me. You even got rid of my cat.
No, we didn't, sweetheart. It just ran away. And we never hated you. When you were growing up, your mother and I were working as undercover government agents. Our actions and work might have made you feel ignored.
What?
Moreover, we didn't want the enemy to discover our identities. That's why we had you wear a mask and hoodie when going outside.
What? My parents were secret agents. That was the last thing I'd ever expected. But suddenly their weird behavior made sense. I wish you'd told me sooner. I could have kept everything a secret.
Just the two of us enduring was more than enough. We always wanted you to live comfortably and not have to worry. We're sorry, Luna.
We should have been better parents to you. We love you so much.
I love you too, guys.
Hi, I'm Layla from Washington, and I have a really personal story to share today. But before I do, please like and subscribe. My mom gave birth to identical twin daughters, me and my sister Elise. So, of course, my parents dressed us in the same clothes and braided our hair with matching ribbons. But people could easily tell us apart for one reason. Elise was born with a minor facial distortion. Her eyes were a little lopsided, and her mouth was almost as low as her chin. I, on the other hand, looked like a freaking porcelain doll. And everywhere we went, people would ooh and ah at me. She's just too lovely to be real.
Wow, look at those brown eyes.
I have the same color eyes.
But everyone ignored Elise, and it really got to her. I kept telling her she was just as pretty as me, but she wouldn't hear a word of it. And as years passed, my sister grew to hate me. Elise did everything she could to make me feel as sad and angry as she felt. She'd spread rumors about me at school, steal my diary, and once she'd tried to shave off my eyebrows. I was living in fear, 24/7. Worst of all, my parents didn't take it that seriously.
I'll take away her electronics for a week.
That's not enough, Dad. Elise is trying to ruin my life. What if she tries to seriously hurt me?
Oh, Layla, that's silly. Elise is just going through a phase and we would never let her harm you.
They didn't understand, and when I turned 14, things really turned upside down. One afternoon, I came home from school to find Elise in the living room with my parents, and they looked furious with me.
How could you do something like that, Layla?
What are you talking about?
Elise said you locked her in the closet for an hour. We heard her calling for us.
What? Just then, I saw Elise, and she was smirking at me.
I just don't think I feel safe around Layla anymore, Mommy. How can I trust her after what she did?
Guys, she's framing me. She locked herself up in the closet.
And why would she do that? That's just twisted, Layla.
Didn't my parents see how crazy Elise was? Not one of them talked to me that night. They all watched Luna Avatar with a bowl of popcorn while I stayed in my room. But the next morning, my parents did the unthinkable. They made me move into the guest house.
It was Elise's idea. You two need space away from each other. We can't have this negativity in the house.
So you're kicking me out? What, because I trapped her in the closet? I told you guys I didn't do it.
It doesn't matter who did it. The point is, you two are toxic for each other right now. And at the moment, Elise needs our attention more than you do. You have more friends and the world at your fingertips. It's just for a short time, Layla.
I was speechless. I was being punished for literally nothing, and it was all Elise's fault. I moved into our guest house that evening and didn't speak to any of my family members. In fact, I continued to ignore them for the next several months. Sure, it was clear Elise was much happier without me in the house. She made more friends and even picked up a few hobbies. But I was still bubbling with anger. One day, I was coming out of the supermarket when I saw a homeless boy outside with dyed turquoise hair. I immediately pulled out a bag of bananas and some change, but he just laughed.
Whoa, do I look like a beggar?
If I'm being honest,
these clothes are just really old.
I still insisted that he keep the bananas, and the two of us ended up having lunch together. I found out the boy's name was Easton, and he lived in an apartment down the block. He was also an absolute sweetheart. I told Easton all about my home situation and Elise's issues with me, and he had a brilliant idea.
Pretend to run away from home, leave at midnight, and leave a note. Turn off the location services on your phone, and you can stay at my place. They'll get so scared they'll beg you to move back in with them. They might even finally punish your jerk sister.
I was sold. My whole family deserved a little scare, so that night, I sent a text to both my parents to tell them my plans and switched my location to private. I spent the next 2 nights at Easton's apartment. His family was really poor, and I had to sleep on a torn cot, but I felt fantastic. My parents were probably going crazy.
Maybe they think you joined a gang.
Or they think I'm pregnant and ran off to get married. Unfortunately, the fun didn't last long. The next morning, my parents burst into Easton's apartment with several cops. They hugged me and cried for a moment, but then they were furious.
Why would you scare us like this? We had no idea what was going on.
Sorry, but you kicked me out for no reason, and then neglected me for 6 months. I needed to teach you a lesson.
Teach us a lesson? Layla, we know the living situation isn't perfect, and we know we haven't been giving you as much attention, but just disappearing like you did. That's crazy behavior. Come with us right this second.
After that, Mom let me move back into the house, but she watched me like a dog. Elise even suggested I shouldn't leave home without her escorting me, and my parents agreed. Luckily, I could still hang out with Easton, who was the only person who seemed to care about me, and it turned out we'd even be going to the same high school next month. On my first day of 9th grade, I was in gym class when Easton started jogging next to me.
Whoa there, you look ready to faint. Here, take some of my water.
Oh God, is it that obvious?
Don't worry, you still look lovely, even though you're drenched in sweat.
Easton smiled at me as I drank from his water, and I felt a little weak in the knees, and not just because I was tired. I saw Elise glare at me as she jogged by, but I didn't care. As months passed, Easton and I just got closer, and whenever Elise was mean, he always defended me.
You can make fun of Layla's dress all you want, but she's the one who got a party invitation, and you didn't.
Secretly, I had the biggest crush on Easton, but I was way too chicken to ever tell him. I was just grateful to have a best friend. It was exhausting living with a bully 24/7. Then, one day, when I came home from school, my parents gave me shocking news. They'd found a plastic surgeon to fix Elise's facial distortion. They couldn't completely get rid of it, but I'd never seen my sister so happy.
I felt so ugly my whole life, Layla. I know it sounds shallow, but I can't wait to be as beautiful as you.
Elise, look at me. You've never been ugly. But if getting this surgery makes you feel more confident, then I support you. Elise started to cry then and hugged me. I stayed with her in the surgery room the entire time, and she even apologized for how she treated me. And I was glad. I was ready to give up our crazy fighting. After Elise's surgery, things changed between us. Elise didn't seem jealous of me anymore, and even started hanging out with me and Easton. Then, one day, I walked into my front yard and almost had a heart attack. Elise was kissing Easton. Hey, does someone want to tell me what's going on here?
Well...
Layla, I've been meaning to tell you. Easton and I like each other, and I asked him out.
I felt like I was gonna throw up. I pulled Elise aside angrily. How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
I know you love him, and I'm sorry. But I've been hanging out with Easton for a couple of weeks, and we have a connection.
How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
Layla, I'm not trying to hurt you. I really like Easton, and I just want to be happy for once.
I can't take this anymore. You made me miserable for 14 years, and then got me kicked out of my own house and convinced Mom to basically ground me for 24/7. This is the last straw. I stormed off and blocked Easton on all social media. He kept calling me to apologize and tell me that him dating Elise wouldn't change our friendship, but I refused to speak to him. The next day at school, I decided it was time for overdue revenge. The first thing I did was attach a bucket of paint to the cafeteria doorway, and when Elise walked in with Easton, pink splashed all over them. Everyone laughed like crazy, and I felt great. I got suspended for a day, but it was worth it, and I didn't stop there. That entire month, I pulled every prank I could think of on them at school, putting spiders in their locker and gluing their butts to the classroom chairs. I felt guilty for being a jerk, but Elise deserved it, didn't she? And Easton was dating my sister, who bullied me my whole life. Then one day, I was studying in the courtyard when Easton walked over to me, and he looked furious.
I've had it with you, Layla. Your jealousy has turned you insane. All the kids at school now are terrified of you.
What do you mean? I've done nothing to anyone, except you and Elise.
Really? Because the bucket of paint from your prank got all over the cafeteria floor, and one kid tripped and sprained his ankle. I'm sorry you're hurt about me dating Elise, but it happened organically. Our feelings for each other had nothing to do with you. I know you're hurt, but don't become a bully because of it.
Easton walked off, and I thought about what he said. Maybe Elise wasn't trying to hurt me, and her falling for Easton was just a coincidence. Maybe I could just be happy for her. So that week, I did everything I could to make things right with people. I volunteered to help as many kids as I could with homework, and they'd know I wasn't a monster. And I apologized to Elise and Easton, and surprisingly, they forgave me. On Friday night, Elise and Easton were celebrating their 1-month anniversary at the beach. So I told Elise I'd deliver them a picnic basket. But when I got there, Elise was sitting alone in the sand, and she was crying. Hey, what's wrong? Where's Easton?
He's not here, Layla. He's not coming.
Did you guys break up?
No, because we never dated. It was all fake. I even paid Easton monthly and used up all my savings. I wanted to make you jealous.
Wait, what? I don't understand.
I thought that after my surgery, people would start treating me differently because my face looked better. I thought I'd finally get as much attention as you. But because my distortion isn't totally fixed, I didn't. And that made me angry. But I can't do this to you anymore. I feel horrible.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Elise kept apologizing, but I couldn't even look at her. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want to deal with her anymore. Things completely changed between us after that. My sister and I both cut contact with Easton and became strangers to each other. It broke my heart, but I didn't know what else to do. We were toxic for each other. Before we knew it, high school ended, and we both went our separate ways. A couple of years later, I was walking around my university campus when I got a phone call.
Layla, it's Easton. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I need your help. My parents lost their house and are homeless. I'm doing everything I can to help them, but I'm desperate. I'm calling everyone I know for either money or food.
My stomach was in knots. I still hated Easton for what he did, but he was obviously in a crisis. So I bought a bunch of food and clothes and arrived at the homeless shelter.
God, you're an angel. I can't thank you enough.
I'm not doing this for you. It's for your parents. And I never want to see you after this. Do you understand?
Yes, what I did to you was unforgivable. Can I just tell you one thing? I never wanted to go through with Elise's fake dating plan. The only reason I agreed to it was because my family's been struggling since I was a kid. I was always terrified we'd end up living on the streets. It's still no excuse, especially because I was in love with you.
My head started spinning. I had no idea Easton had been suffering that much, and I had no idea that he loved me. I decided it was time to smooth things over. That night, I went right home and convinced my parents to give Easton's family a loan, and then I asked if they could invite Elise for dinner.
Oh, sweetie, that's a wonderful idea. She's doing well these days, but she talks about you a lot.
For some reason, I was happy to hear that. When Elise came over, she immediately ran to hug me.
Layla, I'm so glad you're here. Actually, I got you some presents.
Elise handed me a huge gift bag, and to my shock, she bought me all kinds of expensive presents. Perfume, jewelry, and even a brand new iPad.
None of this makes up for how I've treated you over the years. But I love you, Layla. And if you ever want to have a relationship, I'm here.
Thanks, Elise. That means a lot. You did really hurt me. But it has been a couple of years. I can't forgive you overnight. But this is a good start.
I also know you got in touch with Easton. If you ever want to date him, you have my blessing. It's a possibility. But
first, I want to make things right with you. Though, of course, Elise invited Easton over later and left us alone on our porch.
I'm really glad you and Elise made up. Do you think you can ever forgive me? Layla, I never really got over you.
Wow, I didn't know that. But it will take me some time to trust you again.
I understand that. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes.